Welcome to Outside In. I got a request from a viewer to show a spreadsheet results of the 6 air duster comparison video that I just did. Now you'll notice it says 7, but that's because they also wanted the information for Roedix R9 original that I used in that video as well. So that is what I'm doing here. We're going to go through step by step. Okay, for the Jufinx X21, the weight in grams for the blower was 1150. Okay, the actual ended up being 1142, which was pretty awesome. Okay, the Jufinx X301 claimed 372 grams of weight. It turned out to be 371, which again was pretty awesome. I love seeing numbers like that. The Jufinx X3 Mini was 204 is what they claim, and it was actually 209, which was only 5 grams more than what they advertised, which still is very, very good. The Roedix R9 Ultra was listed as 272 grams. It ended up being 274 grams, again, very good. The SDFM X15 was listed at 299 grams, and it awesomely came to actually 299 grams, which was incredible. The SDFM X7 said 467 grams. It turned out to be 465 grams. The Roedix R9 original. Now, this is one of the things that I run into very interesting on this. Okay, the Roedix R9 original, that was listed as 283 grams. But now, for some reason, Roedix has changed that to 180, which was way wrong. The actual weight of that original Roedix R9 is 224 grams. So why Roedix changed that number, I have no idea. There were no claims on any decibel levels on any of the devices. But the actual levels for the Jufinx X21 was 113, which is pretty loud. The Jufinx X301 was 93 decibels. The X3 Mini was 85 decibels. The Roedix R9 Ultra was 82 decibels. The SDFM X15 was 90 decibels. The SDFM X7 was 90 decibels again. And the Roedix R9 original was 88 decibels. So the Roedix R9 Ultra actually won that, being the quietest. Okay, the next was the X3 Mini, and then the original Roedix. Most manufacturers now put out a grams force for their devices. The claimed grams force for the Jufinx X21 is 1200 grams of force. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get it any more than 1032 to 1036. So 1036 was the most I could get of it. The Jufinx X301 said it was 380 grams of force. It ended up being 348, which was pretty awesome. The X3 Mini said it was 150 grams of force. It ended up being 207, which was really awesome. The Roedix R9 Ultra said 200 grams of force, and it ended up being 239 with no nozzle and 168 with a nozzle. Now, the reason that I did this with this particular one is because the person that wanted me to do this spreadsheet wanted the numbers for the Ultra Roedix and the original Roedix. So with the original Roedix, you cannot remove the nozzle. The nozzle will not come off, and I wasn't going to cut off the nozzle just for this test. Anyway, with no nozzle, it's 239. It's 168 with a nozzle. With the SDFM X15, it said that it was 280 grams of force. It ended up being 305, which was absolutely incredible. The SDFM X7 said 500 grams of force, and it ended up being 603, which was, to me, absolutely the best out of the bunch for being so great on those numbers. The original Roedix R9 said 240 grams of force. It ended up being 183. Now, the reason that's why I did this up here, because this has a nozzle built into it. I cannot remove it. So with the nozzle on it, it beat the Ultra. The Roedix R9 original did 183 grams. With the nozzle on the Ultra, it did 168. So I know if I cut off the nozzle of the original, I would get over 240, probably 250 to 260 with no nozzle on it. But like I said, I'm not going to cut that off, and I don't want to ruin that. Okay, now the meters per second. On the Jufinx, it did not have a claim on that, but it ended up being 57 meters per second. The mile per hour on the Jufinx X21 is 128 mile per hour. The CFM was 314, absolutely huge number there. The Jufinx X301 claims 70 meters per second, and after I tested it, it actually did 84, which was incredible. I love seeing numbers like that. Jufinx X3 Mini claimed nothing. It did not claim on meters per second, but I ended up getting 63 meters per second, and the X301 did 188 mile per hour and 13.4 CFM. The Jufinx X3 Mini did 141 mile per hour and 17.7 CFM. The Roedix R9 Ultra claimed 45 meters per second. It actually did 57, which again is awesome, and that was 127 mile per hour with 30.2 CFM. So it has a better CFM than the Jufinx 301 and the X3 Mini. The SDFM X15 said that it would do 56 meters per second, and I actually got 72, which was astonishing. I love that. And that was 160 mile per hour at 20.1 CFM. So the Ultra still beats the SDFM X15 with the CFM. The SDFM X7 said 60 meters per second. I ended up getting 79, which was still incredible. The SDFM blowers are just absolutely amazing. It did 180 mile per hour at 18.3 CFM. So the Roedix R9 Ultra still has everything beat with the CFM, except of course for the biggest blower of all, the X21. The Roedix R9 Original, here is another issue I ran into. It said 54 meters per second. For some reason now, Roedix has changed that to 100 meters per second, which is absolutely untrue. I do not know why they made these changes, but it actually did 76, which was really, really good because it originally was touted for 54 and it did 76. So why they moved that number up to 100, I have no idea. It's 170 mile per hour at 30.7 CFM. So now the original beats the Ultra at CFM, and it really beats the Ultra at meters per second. With the canned air, I got 154 meters per second with no nozzle at 340 mile per hour, 1.5 CFM. With a nozzle, the long nozzle, I got 113, which is still awesome, 253 mile per hour and 0.38 on the CFM, which is still pretty awesome. The Jufinx X21, when I did a 2-minute stress test, I took 3 readings: the start, after 1 minute of use, after 2 minutes of use, and then I did a calculation to see what the loss was. Okay, so it started at 1,036 grams of force. After 1 minute of constant use, it dropped to 890. After 2 minutes of constant use, it dropped to 823. And it actually lost 213 grams of force within 2 minutes of use, which, is kind of understandable, I guess, because that thing does pull so many amps. Now, on mine, I was pulling around 41 amps. So that's a lot of amps to be pulling to be able to maintain that. But that's pretty big drop, though. The Jufinx X301 started at 294 grams of force. After 1 minute of use, it dropped to 229. After 2 minutes of use, it dropped to 204, and it had a total loss of 90 grams of force within 2 minutes. The Jufinx X3 Mini started at 186 grams of force. After 1 minute of constant use, it dropped to 168. After 2 minutes of constant use, it dropped to 128, which again is pretty awesome. And it had a total loss of 58 grams. The Roedix R9 Ultra, I did this again because of the original. With no nozzle, It started at 252 grams of force. After 1 minute of use, it dropped to 232. After 2 minutes of use, it dropped to 232, which was amazing. So it had a total drop of 20 grams of force out of 2 minutes of constant use. That was absolutely incredible. Now, I'll put this 177 up here again, only because of the Roedix original. You know, 177 with the nozzle, because you're going to lose your grams of force, because with the original, like I said before, you don't have the opportunity to take the nozzle off, so that's why I did it this way with those two. Okay, SDFM X15, it started at 202 grams of force. After 1 minute of constant use, it dropped to 202. And actually, that's not even a drop, is it? It maintained. And then after 2 minutes, it dropped to 194. So look at this number here. A total of 8 grams after 2 solid minutes of use. So way to go, SDFM. That absolutely is amazing. The SDFM X7 started at 631, which is touted at 500 total, and that is amazing. 131 grams over what they claim. After 1 minute of constant use, it dropped to 494, which is right at what they claim. After 2 minutes of use, it rose back to 495. So absolutely incredible. And it ended up dropping 136 grams, but I'm not even counting that, because for 1 minute, it dropped down 136 grams of force. And then for the next solid minute, it maintained that. So that is absolutely awesome. I really love that. Even after 2 minutes, it was still doing right at where they claim it to do the 500. So that was pretty cool. Okay, the Roedix R9 original started out at 183 grams of force. Again, bigger than the R9 Ultra with the nozzle on. So that is pretty awesome. After 1 minute of constant use, it dropped to 130. After 2 minutes of constant use, it dropped to 125, giving a total loss of 58 grams of force. But I still am not sure. 58 is a bigger number, of course, than the Ultra had. But with the nozzle on, it's taken power away from the device. So that's going to really hurt the output. So I don't know what this would be if I were to cut that nozzle off, but I really don't want to mess up my Roedix. I really don't. All right, so let's move on to the pop balloon. On the pop balloon test, that was a lot of fun. The Jufinx X21, it failed because it was unable to pop a balloon with the adapter I made for it, which again is probably why they never created an adapter for the X21, because it just wouldn't work with it. With the blow up mattress, the Jufinx X21 fails also because I wouldn't have been able to do that anyway. The Jufinx X301 took 5 seconds to pop a balloon. The Jufinx X3 Mini took 12 seconds. The Roedix R9 Ultra took 8 seconds. The SDFM X15 took 5 seconds. The SDFM X7 took 3 seconds, which was amazing. The Roedix R9 Original took only 4 seconds to pop the balloon, which was amazing. Although I wasn't using that original in the comparison video, as you can see, it did it twice as fast as the Ultra. So again, the Roedix R9 Original wipes the floor with the Ultra. On the blow up the mattress test that I did, the Jufinx X301 took 1 minute 57 seconds. The X3 Mini took 2 minutes 7 seconds. The Roedix R9 Ultra, it failed because they redesigned their nozzles for some reason, and they won't fit in the holes in a mattress. So that is regrettable. I wish they would go back to the round, smooth round nozzles like on the original. The SDFM X15 took 1 minute 28 seconds. The SDFM X7 took 2 minutes and 1 second. And the Roedix R9 Original beat everybody by doing it in 1 minute 24 seconds. But because the R9 Original wasn't really supposed to be a part of that video, the SDFM X15 won that round. The runtime test in hours and minutes on low and high speed. Jufinx X21 and most all blowers very rarely give a runtime on high. Most all the time when you see a claimed runtime, it's on lowest. so they can get the biggest number to show in their advertisements. So that's why a lot of times you won't see how long something will run on high. So I tested everything on high for the video. So I decided to go in and do another test, and I charged all of them back up and I run them all on low to get a low runtime, because I know that there's people that's going to want to know that. But on high, which is what I normally do, the reason I usually do high is because it's quicker. Running on low, sometimes if a duster takes 7 hours, that could take 3 or 4 days if you have too many blowers. But that's why I usually do it on high. The Jufinx X21 did 11 minutes 38 seconds runtime on high. Now, when I did a new test on low speed, look what it did. 6 hours. This is absolutely insane. I don't understand this. I really don't. Jufinx, if you see this video, please tell me what I'm doing wrong. I don't know if I did something wrong, because what I did was I just pulled the trigger until it sounded like it was on low, and then I taped it off so it would stay there. They claim 1 hour. 1 hour they claim on running low. This ran for 6 hours and 25 minutes on low. I thought this thing was never going to get done. Absolutely crazy. That was awesome. And it was still blowing out pretty good air on low. So, wow, that was very interesting to find out. The Jufinx X301, they tout 2 hours runtime. Now that, again, is always going to be the lowest setting to get 2 hours. Okay, so on high, which I did in the video, it ran for 11 minutes, 8 seconds. On high speed, when I did it on low, it ran for 2 hours and 1 minute. So way to go, Jufinx, for being so accurate with your numbers. The Jufinx X3 Mini says it will run for 4 hours on low speed. And in the video, I did it on high. It ran for 17 minutes, 48 seconds. When I just did another test on low speed, it ran for 4 hours and 25 minutes. So again, Jufinx, absolutely astonishing and way to go with such accurate numbers. That is beautiful. Okay, Roedix R9 Ultra says 7 hours. On high, it ran for 21 minutes 33 seconds, which actually beat everybody because it lasted the longest on high. So on low, this is what it did. Still a lot, 4 hours and 45 minutes it ran on low, but nowhere near the 7 hours that they're claiming. SDFM X15 said that their blower will run for 1 hour 40 minutes, and obviously that's on low. On high, it ran for 11 minutes 19 seconds. On low, when I did the new test, it ran for, look at that, 1 hour 40 minutes. Absolutely, that was so crazy. So way to go, SDFM again. SDFM X7 said that theirs will run for 1 hour 40 minutes. On high, it ran for 10 minutes 46 seconds. And on low, it ran for, look at that, 2 hours and 27 minutes. Absolutely insane, crazy, ridiculous. So again, SDFM, my thumbs up to you. Hats off for incredible information that's accurate. Okay, the Roedix R9 original said 3 hours on low, of course. On high, it took 17 minutes 28 seconds to run the battery dead. When I did the test again on low speed, it ran for 3 hours and 22 minutes. So awesome. Absolutely incredibly awesome. So Roedix Original again beats the pants off of the original. Really, truly it does. The Roedix R9 Original is such a little beast. It is so close to being the wolf box. It's crazy. Okay, so now the charge time and capacity after running empty on low speed. Now what I did here, this is another test that I did. So I hope you understand why it took me so long, because I did a lot of extra testing to get some more information for everyone. The charge time originally was done after doing a high-speed test. So the claimed charge time for the Jufinx X21 is 3 hours. The actual charge time was 3 hours and 11 minutes, which is amazing. Way to go, Jufinx. on accurate numbers. I love that. The claimed milliamp hour rating is 6,000 milliamp hour. The actual milliamp hour rating turned out to be 4559, which is quite under what they state, and the efficiency of that came to 76%, which is pretty low. The Jufinx X301. All right, now let's go back here. Okay, let me do this because I did this last. I should have put this over here and this over here. But anyway, the claimed charge time is 3 hours for the Jufinx X21. Okay, now this is what I did. I put all of the blowers on low speed and I let them all run, as you just saw in the last numbers that I showed you before. And after I charged it back up, I knew that running it on low till the battery run dead was going to make a big difference on milliamp hour rating. Actual charge time after running it on low till empty, it still was 3 hours 10 minutes. Absolutely incredible. The claimed milliamp hour rating, of course, is 6,000. The actual milliamp hour ended up being 4577, which was a little bit better than running it on high, but not a whole lot difference. But now some will, as you'll see, some does make a big difference. So it was 76% efficiency. The Jufinx X301 claims charge time of 2 hours and a half. After I ran Jufinx on high speed till the battery run dead, it charged up at 3 hours 26 minutes, which is an hour more than what they claim. The milliamp hour claim is 6,000 again. The actual milliamp hour rating came to 5284, which was pretty awesome, and that's an 88% efficiency. When I ran it on low speed, did it change anything? The actual charge time ended up being 3 hours 56 minutes, so it added 30 minutes to the charge time because it used more efficiently the capacity that I had within it. So the claimed milliamp hour rating, of course, 6,000, but this time after charging it up, I got 5333, which did improve to 89%, which I know it's only one number, but 5333 from 5284 is pretty good. So just keep that in mind. If you run all your blowers on low once in a while, from full charge all the way to empty, that will help regain some efficiency out of your blowers. The Jufinx X3 Mini says it will charge in 3 hours and 30 minutes. When I did it on low speed, it took 3 hours 54 minutes, which is pretty good because that's only 24 minutes more. It claimed 5,000 milliamp hour. It ended up getting 4830, which is awesome. 97% efficiency. That is awesome. The X3 Mini says 3.5 hours. After I ran it on high speed till it was empty, it took 3 hours 54 minutes. Again, the same amount of time. So that is very interesting. Same amount of time to charge. The claimed is 5,000 milliamp hour on the X3 Mini, and it ended up getting 4835. So the X3 Mini is pretty awesome. It must have some really, really good batteries in it because running it on low or high didn't seem to make much of a difference at all in the efficiency. Still at 97%. The Roedix R9 original claimed 2 hours and 30 minutes to charge. After I ran it empty on low speed, it took 3 hours and 40 minutes, which was more than an hour over what they state. They state, unrealistically, 10,000 milliamp hour. Again, they like those big numbers, and unfortunately, Roedix is starting to do that, and I wish they would stop. Okay, but it ended up being 7347, which is not good. 73% efficiency. Definitely don't put numbers like that when it won't do it. Okay, now when I ran it on high till the battery was dead, it took 3 hours and 34 minutes, which is really close to what it took to even run it on low till it was dead. So the batteries in that is very awesome. Again, they state 10,000 milliamp hour, but it doesn't come close to that. It actually did better using it on low speed. It gained some capacity by running it on low speed till it was dead, as opposed to running it full blast. The SDFM X15 states 2 hours 30 minutes. Again, like the Roedix, it actually took 3 hours and 5 minutes, which is 35 minutes over the listed, and that was running it on low speed until it was empty. And running it on low speed till empty, it should take a little bit longer, and maybe even a lot longer, as you'll see coming up for some. It claims 6,000 milliamp hour rating. it did 5184, which is kind of in the ballpark, but still I don't like seeing numbers that low. Let's see what it did when I ran empty on high. It took 3 hours and 3 minutes, so right close, so that means good batteries. So it took 3 hours and 5 to 3 minutes. 6,000 milliamp hour rating. When I ran on high, it had a little less capacity use at 5119, so it only dropped a point to 85% efficiency. The SDFM X7, this is the interesting one. It claims also 2 hours 30 minutes to charge. The SDFM X7, when I ran it on high, I got these numbers mixed up. When I ran on high speed and recharged it, it charged up in 3 hours 55 minutes, which was longer than it stated. Okay, it claims 7,500 milliamp hour. It ended up doing 57, which is not too good. 76% efficiency. Okay, but now when I ran it on low, because like I said, I got these numbers mixed up. Wow. When I ran it on low and let it run dead and charged it back up, it took 13 hours and 4 minutes. I do not understand that. So SDFM, if you see this video, please let me know. Reach out to me. Let me know what's going on. I used your power brick. I used your cord for charging. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe the power brick has went bad and it claims 7,500. It actually did better. I wish I hadn't got these numbers mixed up. But this was for running on low speed. When I ran on low dead and charged back up, it took 13 hours. And it got 6,901, which was 92% efficiency, which was very, very, very awesome. But why it took 13 hours, I don't understand. Okay, so now what I did over here was I did a differences chart, charging to full from running it on low speed. For the Jufinx X21, it was a minute difference between the high and the low speed. Charge time was 1 minute, so that's pretty awesome. The efficiency difference, running it empty on high or running it empty on low and charging it back up, was 0.3% difference, which is not too bad. Now the average amp draw for the charge was almost 1.5 amps average throughout the whole 3 hour and 10-minute charge. So that is pretty amazing, okay? That it kept that rate up for that long. And that's why it charged so fast. The Jufinx X301, there was 30 minutes in difference between the charge time, running it empty on high or running empty on low. The efficiency difference between low and high was 0.8%, so a little bit bigger efficiency. It picked up that efficiency because of running it empty on low to kind of regain some of its capacity. All right, okay, now the average amps for the entire draw was 1.6 amps for 3 to 4 hours of constant charging. It averaged 1.6. So that is absolutely amazing. Okay, Jufinx X3 Mini, the time difference was nothing. Efficiency difference was 0.1%, and the amp average was 1.36. So again, very, very good amp draw for 4 constant hours of charging. To do an average of 1.3, that is awesome for the amp draw. The Roedix R9 Ultra, the time was 6 minutes difference in charge time between running it empty on high and running empty on low to charge it back up. So that's pretty amazing. The efficiency difference was 1.9%, so that is pretty significant. Running it on low until it's empty as opposed to running it on high until it's empty. Running anything on low till it's empty is going to help regain some of the capacity. It averaged, look at that, 2.1 amps for 3.5 hours. 2.1 amps. That is crazy good. That's crazy. Okay, the SDFM X15, it had a difference of 2 minutes from running it empty on low or empty on high. It was only 2 minutes difference in the charge time, which is pretty telling about the batteries. 1.1% efficiency. So again, pretty good jump in efficiency for running it on low till it was empty to help regain some of the capacity. Now the amp average was 1.6. So again, absolutely amazing SDFM for making such a great charger to go along with your blower. But here is the problem that I ran into. SDFM X7. Look at that. 9 hours, 49 minutes difference between the charge time of running it empty on high, running it empty on low. There was a difference of 9 hours and 49 minutes. That is absolutely insane. Okay, so I don't know what's going on there. So SDFM, if you see this, please reach out to me and let me know what's going on. The efficiency was 15.6% drop. So that is pretty bad. But look at this. A half amp. It averaged a half amp for the entire 9 hours and 49 minutes. Only a half amp. Average. So I'm thinking maybe something has happened to the charge brick. So the only way for me to know for sure is just to try another charge brick and try it again and see if I can get some different result out of that. Okay, so, and if you want to see that, please let me know. I'll just leave a comment after I do the test. Okay, so the Roedix R9 original, charge time and capacity. I left this one out, didn't I? Okay, it claims 3 hours, 15 minutes. Okay, the actual time it took to charge was 2 hours, 36 minutes. That was running it on low and then charging it up again. So amazing, Roedix R9 original. That was incredible to charge up in 2 hours and 30 minutes when it says 3 hours 15. So I put 3:15 because it says 3 hours to 3.5. So I just split the difference and made it 3:15 as their claim. But still, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so their claim milliamp hour rating is 5,000, which is a little too high for that. It ended up being 3968 with an efficiency of 79%, which is okay, I reckon, but still way better than the Ultra. So again, original beating the Ultra. Amazing. I really like the original. Okay, after I ran it on high until it was empty, charged it back up, it took 2 hours and 34 minutes, which was right there next to only 2 minutes difference. 5,000 milliamp hour rating, and it actually went down to 2949, so it lost efficiency. So it went down to 59% efficiency. Running it on low till it was empty, it helped her gain a lot of its capacity by putting it up to 79% efficiency. Now the difference in charge hour time was 2 minutes. Amazing, awesome. The 20.4% efficiency was raised by simply running it on low until it was empty, and it was able to gain 20.4% efficiency. Yeah, that's something you might want to consider every so often. If you use your blowers a lot, once in a while, just let them run empty on low, or just go around dusting things on low until it's dead, and that will help regain some efficiency. The average amp was 1.2 amps, 1.3 basically amps total for the 2 hours and a half. So that again is pretty amazing. The SDFM X7, I'm going to have to do a test on my own and find out if something has happened to the charger, which I hope that it was the charger. I have charged and discharged, so many times throughout the past 3 weeks. It's crazy how many times I've charged and discharged them doing all these tests. So hopefully something hasn't went wrong with the X7, but I'm hoping that it was just the charger brick has gone bad. Anyway, so please, if you see this SDFM, reach out, let me know. Okay, that will do it for this video. Thanks for stopping by. If there's anything else that you would like to know, please let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to get something together for you. I'm getting ready to go out of town, so I'll be back for a week. So anyway, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Find someone that needs a reason to go on, give them that reason. Find someone that needs a hug, and make it happen. God bless each and every one of us, and I will see you in the next one.